Special session, Mayor and City Council meeting, 3 p.m., Wednesday, April 17, 2019, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Number 3, discussion / action items. Number 1, naming of park in front of City Hall, Jesus M. Cordova. Do I have a
So moved, Mayor.
second? Thank you very much. Discussion. I placed this on the agenda myself, members of the City Council, for the reason is that on the 27th of this month, it'll be 1 year of 1 year already that passed since Officer Cordova was shot and lost his life. And I think this is something that is very important for us in the city, not only as City Council, but as employees of the city, and for us to remember Officer Cordova, and this would be basically actually a small token, naming the park in front of City Hall, which doesn't have a name, it's called City Hall Park. So I'm asking for your support in this, and so that on the 27th of the anniversary, we're in the police department, they're going to be doing a ceremony on the park in front with a plaque that they have. It'd be nice for us to be able to say that that park in front of City Hall and in front of the police department is in memory of Officer Cordova. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. May I have your permission to ask Chief?
Yes.
Chief? My question to you is besides Officer Cordova, have there been other Nogales police officers killed in the line of duty?
Not since the 1800s, sir. So this is the first officer that's been gave his life actually in over 100 years.
Okay, but my question is, has there been a police officer for the City of Nogales Police Department ever killed in the line of duty?
My understanding, and from the readings that we do every year in Officer Memorial Week, is that Officer Frank Frost lost his life, or gave his life, back in what was it, Commander?
48.
Yeah, 1880 some, or the 1800s, late 1800s. But we don't have any information as far as to how or any detailed information, basically. But this is the first officer in the last 100 years that has lost his life or gave his life for the community.
Well, I'm not concerned about 100 years. If there's an officer who gave his life in the line of duty to defend and protect the citizens of Nogales, that we should also not forget about that individual and recognize him there too. I think we should have it. I agree with you, but I don't want to just say one officer. There might be, hopefully not, but if there's an officer or a firefighter that puts his life on the line to protect us, then we should honor those people, no different than the plaque for the veterans out there. I agree with naming, but I would like it named whatever you decide, but to honor all the roll call of all the ones who have sacrificed their life.
That would be a great idea. You know, the reason it's Officer Cordova, because this is, you know, something that happened, you know, in our time.
No,
okay, and you know, for 100 years, nobody has done anything, you know, in reference to any other officer or any firefighter in the city of Nogales, and I hope that that never ever happens. You know, what happened to Officer Cordova should never have happened, and no community wants that to happen to one of our officers or firefighters. But you're right, you know, there's no reason why we couldn't, after naming this park, Jesus M. Cordova Park, that we could have a small wall where a plaque could be placed also for
Fallen
the death
officers.
of fallen officers. Yes,
See,
why not?
I just don't want, that's okay with me though too. I just don't want, I don't care what the time frame is. He deserves to be honored. And we should not forget those.
No, we'll do that, and the chief, if you can find more information in that fallen officer
Sure.
100 years back, to find out exactly what happened, and if that's the case, you know, if he was killed in the line of duty, you know, and because we've had other officers lose their lives, but not in the line of duty.
Absolutely.
So why not, you know, why not us have a wall? You're
Mr.
gonna be presenting a plaque, but you had intentions of putting the plaque where, Chief?
At the entrance to the police department,
On
where
the
it says
wall?
police on the right pillar.
Okay.
And that's only temporary, Dr. Verona. What we're planning on doing, and that's for hopefully this coming year, I'm going to bring up some type of diagram. Originally, the Nogales Police Officers Association was working on this, but the plan is to create an actual wall and put the plaque of all the officers. Hopefully, we don't have other than Officer Cordova and Officer Frost, but we leave it ready for just in case something else happens, and commemorate every officer that gave his life for this community. The April 27th memorial and celebration of life of Officer Cordova is due to his 1-year anniversary. But Officer Frost and every other officer that has lost his life or gave his life in Santa Cruz County is remembered during police week, actually, in May, and that happens at the county. But this is strictly celebrating and remembering the 1st-year anniversary of Officer Cordova. So we're going to have a plaque, unveil a plaque, and I'm thankful for Mayor and every single one of you for taking that into consideration to rename this park in memory of Officer Cordova. It means a lot to the family, the police department, and most of all the community.
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Dawes?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So just for clarification, so my motion is for naming the park in front of City Hall, Jesus M. Cordova. Are you modifying my motion, Councilman Verona?
May I, Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilman.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm just asking that
Right.
they put something on there to recognize this other
Others.
individual who also sacrificed his life.
Yes.
We should not forget.
Okay.
It might be just one off, but we shouldn't forget, no matter what the time frame is. I'm
So
not
we're-
modifying.
oh,
I'm just asking
okay.
that it be included, that
Yeah.
individual be
Okay.
included.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go
If
ahead.
I may, really quick, this is the first year that I'm going to be attending the National Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. I'm glad that I've never had before. I'm a newbie at this, and I have no idea what where I'm going or how it's going to be. They say it's a roller coaster ride. It's very emotional. It's very tasking. Luckily, we've never had to be up there. Believe me, it's not a pleasure trip for me. May 6th, I believe, we're going to do the State Memorial up in Phoenix. I'll also be there. That's a one-day event. The one in Washington is a one-week event, actually, where Officer Cordova and the other 127 other officers that gave their lives around the nation are put up in a wall in D.C. So we're fairly new at this. So unfortunately, we're learning as we go. But there'll definitely be a wall we will recognize also Officer Frank Frost along with Officer Cordova.
Yeah,
That's all.
That's a great idea,
Okay.
Councilman Verona. Yes, go ahead,
Yeah,
Councilman.
Mayor, not to change anything, it's just maybe in the future, maybe we can put a glass-covered story on Officer Cordova, so that people, because, people will forget very fast.
Oh, yeah.
So there should be a little story as to what happened, and also with Frost, if they can have a little story, people can go up there, they can read up at least, 4 paragraphs about exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's kind of like the honor wall, the Veterans Honor Wall. It has the wars and and all the soldiers that enlisted to the military and went to war from this county and this city. You know, if you were born in Nogales, but moved to New York City and enlisted in New York City, you're not in that wall. You have to have been here. You know, and that's the way the veterans, that's the way they treat that honor wall, you know, because they wanted to do it for, it wasn't because of fallen soldiers or sailors or Marines. No, it's just people that enlisted. But it identifies the wars, you know, in order. So, yeah, we can do that for a while. Why not? Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can only say one last thing here. The ceremony is going to be April 27th at 10 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, in the morning, I'm sorry, in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's going to be right in front of here.
What time?
10 o'clock in the morning. And everybody's invited. We're putting the finishing touches on the program, and hopefully it will be done here by tomorrow. And I'll put an invitation in everybody's box, and I'll be.
It's a Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Thank you
And
very much.
I'll appreciate it if everybody can show up to pay their respects.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. You know. Okay, is there any other discussion?
Mayor, call for
Yes.
the question.
Yes, okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 2, discussion, possible action, search for funding to repair tennis courts. Mr. Hanesian,
Yeah, you know, we've been discussing this, and it seems we can't
should we
find.
do the motion first and then,
Uh,
yes, make the motion.
yeah, I'm so moved, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, second, I have second.
What do you so move?
For, well, that's the problem here, that's why we have to discuss it. But the discussion is here, I think,
Yes.
is where do we get the funding,
Yes.
right? Because we've been discussing this, and it seems that we can't get $10,000 together for fixing the tennis courts. My question is, how can we not get $10,000 together? We can go ahead and completely have them resurfaced and everything in this upcoming year's budget. But right now, I still believe that there's enough time now to get this thing fixed. Nothing has been done on them, and I don't think in 20 years. And I think that we should be able to find $10,000 for all the people that are playing tennis here, and it keeps them out of the street, keeps them very happy. And you go by there all the time, especially here, and I don't go by the ones on Anza Drive, but I'm sure it's the same thing there, that they're constantly being used. So, you know, my suggestion is, and
Mayor,
we could be.
was that second? You made a
Yeah, I
motion,
se-
but
I
was there a
second-
second?
I second.
Oh, okay,
I
I
second
didn't,
it, yes.
I didn't hear
I
the
don't
second.
understand.
Right, and I don't either.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the main?
Right.
Well, the motion is to look for the funding.
Yeah, the motion is to look for the funding,
Yes, sir.
right? To be able to find the funding for,
You're just like Trump. You don't know what you're doing.
No,
Why is he
but,
upset? Because he was with Schultz yesterday.
yes,
It
yes,
didn't
he
turn
got
out
all
well.
excited.
But anyway.
No, you know, I understand what you mean, Councilman, and I know we had that presentation, and I don't think, I agree with you 100%. I don't think we should wait for a grant when there's repairs to be done, and so that it could be at least played safely.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mr. Felix, do we have any money?
Well, we set aside, there's a possible grant of $40,000, and there's a match of $40,000, and it looks pretty positive. So I've asked Jeanette to set aside those dollars to get it done. We don't want to proceed until we have the commitment for the $40,000, but it should be coming shortly. And that would do the 2 tennis courts.
What is?
But give me a timeline on that. I'm not, don't tell me about a grant. Give me a
Marcel?
timeline.
Mayor, members of the council.
Go ahead.
So we're kind of weaving our way through the process to that the USTA provides as far as grants are concerned. So they will do a match, and a maximum match, depending on the project, is $20,000 per project. So we submitted 2 different grants. And given the one quote that we have, we know we're probably going to have to ask for that one that comes in categories, and we're going to be applying for the grant for the highest category because of the cost to repair the courts that we feel is probably necessitated there. So our dilemma is we have the $40,000 set aside, We know that we're más o menos going to be in between $30,000 to $40,000 per court. We're talking Madison and ANSA. The comment Dr. Felix just made is if we proceed with construction before we are authorized or approve the grant, then we can't use that $40,000 as matching. I did meet with one of the regional individuals from the USTA last week that was here to assess both the BYTE, that BITE program, the Border Youth Tennis Exchange that's going on between ambos Nogales and Nogales, that Charlie Cutler presented on here. He came down from Houston to evaluate the programs. We just started one at ANSA, and to evaluate the courts. And in talking to him, our application or our grant request is at the very top. He's thinking we're going to be granted 95% sure. I kind of told him the challenges we have about the urgency of the council wanting to move on this because we want to get something done. But he cautioned us about if we did that before we were granted authorization, that we had approval, that we could not use that matching funds. So I said, so what can you do to help me or help us? And he guaranteed me that we would know before May 31st, if not sooner, that the grant would be approved. And once we get authorization to proceed, then we can start construction on our own end, and it's a reimbursement. So then we could use that $40,000 as the $20,000 match for Madison and the $20,000 that we would require at ANSA. So we could potentially get that done now.
You feel comfortable, Marcel? Yeah.
I get a really good sense for this individual. He was very honest. He felt he could get it done. He's even willing to come down and talk to you. Give him 24 hours notice, he'll come and talk to you. But yes, he feels that those courts need the work that we're getting quoted for. And he does feel that we are going to be granted that amount.
Councilman Venecian?
Well, this is all be very nice and dandy if when this thing was brought up 6 months ago, if we'd done that. But we did nothing 6 months ago, and I'm looking at it right now, and I'm thinking 6 months from now, I'll be having the same conversation, right? It's all in the future. It's all let's see. We're going to get a grant. We don't have no money. We'll try to figure out where we can get some money. It was 6 months ago. John, was it? How long ago was it when I brought this whole thing up?
6 months ago, sir.
6 months ago. Thank you. And I'm sure I brought it up before that too, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And it always seems that we'll look at it and it just gets left. If you've seen it up there, what it looks like, it's looked like that for years, and it doesn't seem to be anything. My question is here, Dr. Felix. I mean, we can play with this. I hope to God it comes true, right? But looking at the background of this whole story, I don't feel very confident. So my question is, I mean, is there, my understanding there was somebody there that does the resurfacing at the high school?
Yes, there is.
And he said that he would basically charge $2,000, I think, per
A
court.
temporary fix, sir.
It's a temporary fix that would last, he says, depends on how heavy they play on it. It would last a year, maybe a year and a half. My question is, can we find $10,000? Do we have it in the budget? I mean, do we have any money available in the budget to go ahead and resurface these things? If we get that thing, or let's put it this way, if we don't come to a conclusion by the end of May, that's it, then forget it. Forget it. I'm not going to wait another 2 years, right? So either they do it, or we find $10,000 to go ahead and get them resurfaced for the 1st of June.
Yes, we can commit to
the 1st
that.
of June, and we can talk to the gentleman there at the high school that does the resurfacing there.
Yeah. The gentleman from the Tennis Association was very positive, but just in case at the backstop
Well,
would be to
again,
add
like
the
I said, this
10,000.
is all be fine and dandy 6 months ago.
Right.
If we were discussing this 6 months ago, I would be in agreement with you, right? But 6 months went by, nothing was ever done. So again, do I get the feeling that could happen again? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So let's make a contingency plan. If nothing happens by the end of May, then figure out where we're going to get $10,000 to go ahead and get them fixed. And then you've got 1 year in which to find out how we're going to redo it again, right?
Yes, Councilman Hesiana will commit to that, finding the 10,000 should we not get the grant. I'm pretty positive we'll get the grant, but nonetheless, we'll have a backup
Again, that
plan.
would be the best, but if not, I don't wanna wait 6 more months. Or the story is, well, we'll figure it out towards the end of the year, right?
Councilman Hanesian, but what you're saying right now is that, we wait till the end of the month of May
End
to
of
see
May.
what happens.
But if
If
not,
it not,
for them to
there
find
can-
the $10,000 to get it fixed.
Okay, Councilman Barona, do you have something to say?
Well, I concur with Mr. Henesian, and I'm glad Mr. Bachiller brought up those other aspects, is I think we should wait until we get a final answer. But I am concerned about our budget. We just asked out of this budget for $50,000 that we didn't allocate, that we asked you to research for the police body cameras. Now, we keep asking and we keep asking for things that aren't budgeted for. Dr. Felix, I think your response should have been, we will do it and we will get the work done the first week of July. We'll start on it with our new budget when we get that done. If they tell us no, fine. And then when we have a new budget, we put in Mr. Henesian's request on the budget to completely redo the thing, not a thing, but fully fund the complete restoration of those two areas of the tennis courts. Then on the budget, then I would agree with Mr. Henesian, let's do it ourselves, because they need to be, I don't want to waste $10,000. Well, 30 days later, we can fund the whole thing, if that's what you're recommending, and do it correctly. But I don't want to be taking any more money and then find out from the audit that we have to tell the people we overspent. Yeah, I don't know, you still haven't told us how we're coming up with the funding for the body cameras. And that, I thought it was close to $60,000. So, let's lay off of this budget now, and let's go on, wait until our next budget. And then if they say no, then we'll probably agree as a council with Mr. Henesian, Councilman Henesian, that we fully fund those two, Anza and Madison tennis courts fully, so they can look nice and people don't get hurt on those tennis courts. That would be the conservative way to look at the public funding.
6 months, if we were discussing this again, like I said, 6 months ago, I could agree to that. But right now, we're looking at another 6 months. Let's let it go for another 6 months.
No.
And so we're gonna let the whole summer go by unless the Nogales High School decides that anybody can use their tennis courts, and then we'll go ahead and work it that way.
We
right?
have an IGA with, you have an IGA with Nogales Unified School District, and they have, don't you use the Nogales tennis courts up there, the
Yes,
high
sir.
school ones?
Yes, sir.
For your summer programs?
Yes, sir.
So
Well,
that answers the
do the
question.
people there that are here in Madison, do they know this, that they can go over there? Because if my kids were playing tennis and they were playing there in Madison, I would be the same thing as when I pulled my kids out of playing basketball here for a reason, right? And it's the same thing. I mean, this has been going on for years and years. So, I mean, again, I agree, all right, let's go till May. If you can come up with the money for May, I have no problems, then we don't have to worry about the budget. But if not, I want to have a contingency factor in there for $10,000, which I think is very reasonable, and that will take us for a year. If we don't get it by May, the next thing they're going to say, well, we'll look at it in January. Then we'll just tossing the thing further down. This again, I should have been addressed 6 months ago, if not earlier. And now, I don't want to let it go all summer and just say, well, the people that play tennis there that I talked to, I don't want to tell them, we'll let it go. The city council just decided, well, 10,000 is not an agreement. We'll find something else. We'll find something else to spend the money on.
May I clarify something?
Go ahead.
Okay, so because we had some high dollar projects that we've completed this year already, and we have salary or project savings in those, and that's part of the $40,000 that we have available today, now. If the council wanted to pull the trigger and say, hey, spend those $40,000 right now, we could take care of one of those courts. The only reason,
One court or one park where there's two courts?
2 courts, so
Okay.
1 park. Okay, but that's based on our first quote. We think our second quote might come in a little bit lower, so it would behoove us But if I spend that money today, before, we are authorized to spend the money, if we're gonna get a grant, then we lose the opportunity to use that money, not just to spend ourselves, but as matching money as well.
Sure,
Yeah, so,
I'm sorry, but did you not say for the end of May?
yeah,
But we're not asking, I'm not asking for $40,000. It was already decided, we talked to the gentleman there that does it at the high school, and he said it'd be $2,000 per court. I said 10,000 because there's only 4 courts, so that would be 8,000. So my question is there, again, because how sure are we for the end of May? If we're not sure of it, I don't want to wait another 6 months.
we have money to spend at that point. If we get to the end of May and we can't do anything about it, we've got at least $10,000 to do something.
We would have the money to go ahead and get the gentleman there from the high school to go ahead and code it?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all with this is all my comment here is, the agenda item is to go ahead and wait until the end of May, until if we can get the grant. If we don't get the grant, just resurface them so it'll last us a year, and we can still work on the grant.
Correct.
And hopefully it'll come in, if it comes in 6 or 8 months or 9 months, then by the time we prepare, it'll be a year anyway.
Marcel, why would you say right now to spend money on something for a year? I mean, if we're gonna do something, why are we doing it just for a year? Why aren't we gonna fix them up right? Why are we doing this temporary deal?
But that's what the high school does.
The high school refurbishes it. He goes over there just to fix up some things and make some money on the side, okay? That's what he does it for.
The tennis courts, as they explained to me, one was, the one at Madison was constructed in 1967. The one at Anza was in 1973. Those tennis courts were cement slabs. They weren't post and cable like they make now. They had expansion strips so they wouldn't crack. They didn't have the technology at the time to finish the surfaces on those so that they were level and graded correctly. So we have all kinds of little divots all over the place. And a lot of the court actually just drains right to the center of the courts, and a lot of that's why we have some of the problems that we have. Really the ultimate fix would be to overlay that with 6 inches of new cement with post and cable, but that's kind of cost prohibitive. We're talking $100,000 per park. I mean, that's expensive. We might as well just demolish what we have and maybe do new. What's being recommended is that we go in there and we sandblast both surfaces completely down to the cement layer, the top layer where it's all cement, because a lot of the coatings are peeling off and they're delaminating. You got to take it down to the cement surface, and then they etch it. They will come in and they will try to fill in as many of the little low spots as they possibly can. But again, and then do their layers of coatings, which are like 3 or 4 of them, and that should get us by for 8 to 10 years. Okay, the cracking that's there will continue, but it is what it is. Those concrete slabs are going to move. Fortunately, they say they're not moving a whole lot, and they've been there for so long that it's actually, they're surprised that we don't have more issues with them. But that's kind of the scope of work that we're kind of looking into right now, and that's coming in at about $35,000, $40,000, and that would be like an 8 to 10 year fix. And that's the one that I am recommending that we pursue.
Say that again.
That is the one that I would recommend that we pursue
After July?
now.
No, where are you gonna get the money now? I mean.
After the grant.
Once
With the grant. With the grant.
We're still looking at the
So
grant.
after the grant,
So you
yes.
get the grant. Let's say we don't get the grant. Let's just say we don't.
Okay, so we don't get the grant,
Then what's-
then we would pursue that. That's what I would do. I really would not, they would not recommend that you go just kind of plaster, because it's,
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I agree with his generic comment. He's absolutely right. I've gone over there to see it. I've walked over there. But I think first we should wait for the grant, because that'll save us $40,000 to $50,000. And with that savings, that in itself pays for the body cameras of the police department. Now, if it doesn't happen, I again concur with Councilman Henesian. We're not gonna wait 6 months, because I've received complaints just like you. We can put it into our budget is approved on July the 1st, and Marcel, you can set that as a priority to get your quotes, go to the procurement, and make sure it gets done, at least Madison in July, and the other one in August or so it can be done. But I don't wanna shot put the deal, okay? Let's do it, and let's do it right, so it can last us 8 to 10 years.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on that.
Okay.
Which means we'll go ahead and we'll wait. Hopefully they get it. If not in July, we vote to get it fixed, right? But get everything ready before. I don't want to be in July and we haven't gotten any quotes yet, and we're gonna wait another year to figure the whole thing out. It's gotta be done now. Figure it out ahead of time. Let's not wait, right?
It's a safe, and he's right. Look at what happened. You're right. Look what happened with the fire department. We gave them money for 2 fire trucks. They didn't work on the RFPs right away, and what happened? They delayed it for 6 months, and then the manufacturing of the vehicles, another 6 months. So he's right. Start working on it now.
So we've got one set of quotes already. We're just waiting on the second. The gentleman's already been here, and that's part of completing our grant process. That has to be before they vet everything. We should be getting those numbers any day now, actually. So we will have the 2 quotes. So
Call for the question.
But
I think we beat it up.
I don't understand what we're voting.
What Mr. Vanessian said.
But I thought you said you changed it.
You know, okay, we're gonna, well, from the original, I guess I did. But what I'm proposing then now is
Did you withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw the original motion and the motion now will, who the second, I think,
The mayor.
the mayor.
Yes.
And we'll go ahead and follow Mr. Bachiller's comment. And we'll wait to see if we can get the grant. And if we don't get the grant, then the whole thing to fix them up completely will be put on the budget in July.
So you're not gonna need the partial fix that he said he will get for you? If that doesn't work, we're going to.
Well, in July.
We're going to the
no,
next budget.
No, in July, we'll put it on the budget just so we're prepared and,
Okay.
and that with everything, all the quotes are be ready. And so that we don't have to wait much longer after July.
Okay, I'll second that.
It gets immediately.
I'll second it. All right, go ahead, chief.
Nothing to do with recreation. But the body camera program, it's going to be in our new budget. We didn't want to get it this year and have Dr. Felix find it where there is no money or wherever this money is to inconvenience. We didn't want to inconvenience any other programs or projects that the city might have. So the funding is going to be introduced in our new budget.
That's all. Thank you, chief. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it? Okay. Discussion, possible action, distribution of second half of 2018 holiday paid bonus for employees. Councilman Barona.
No, I think that's you.
We discussed the revenue situations, and we feel that at this time, we have the dollars available to provide the dollars that we,
Can we have a presentation?
Yes.
So I want to make sure. Can we have a presentation?
yeah.
No, not tennis courts.
That's what I want to find out.
We're doing,
Yes. we
okay,
are.
sorry, I thought we were doing.
Yes.
Now we found a lot of money.
I think. My mayor,
Yes?
have that one.
my concern is
This is March. This is for March.
trying to figure out how we'll get all of this money and we can't find $10,000.
Well, let's go through the discussion right now. Okay, so, before we start discussing this, do I have a motion on this?
Well,
Or should we just discuss it?
I would prefer to listen to the presentation before we make any kind of commitment, so we're not backing up on our commitment.
Okay, just before the presentation, can I say something or should I wait, Mr. Massey?
Either way, you're the chair of this meeting and you can
Okay.
speak as you desire.
First of all, who did you discuss this with? You said we discussed.
Finance Director.
Finance Director. And the Finance Director last week told me that our comparison report, we're $140,000 down, and then next month we will probably be down another $100,000. So,
Correct.
are we going to get a little explanation of those $200,000?
Yes, we will.
We will? Okay.
So I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that if we look at what we budgeted and where we should be at and what we've collected, we're under by $648,000. So what that means is that what we anticipated we would have collected through March, we're not there. You know, our sales tax numbers are not coming in where we should be. And in addition, if you go to the third page and we compare last year, well, we're not where we were last year either. So that's the bad news. The good news is that the departments have been doing a great job, like I say every month, of minimizing their expenses. And if we compare the revenue that we've collected through March 31st, our revenues are at 15 million, and our expenses, including our capital purchases that we made, the vehicles and the fire trucks, we're at 13 million. So what that means is that our revenues exceed our expenditures through March by 1.5 million. So
1.5?
for general fund.
So,
So that means we're collecting more money than what's going out the door.
I don't
Yeah.
need an explanation of that, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So, what is, if it's a $500 bonus?
Yes.
How much does that cost?
So for and again, when we distribute the bonus to the employees, it's all based on fund. So whoever is categorized under general fund, it impacts that fund, and then so forth with the other ones, HERF, water, sewer, and sanitation. So the impact to general fund would be, and this is without the EREs, 106,000. Let me look at this one better. So for general fund, it's 106,000, 106.4. For HERF, it's 7,500. For sewer, we're looking at 4,800. Water, 6,200. And then sanitation, 11. Water, and then we have fleet, inventory warehouse, and utility, which is another, let me see, 3, 4, about 7,000. And then housing is 8,000. For a total of 151,000.
So the bulk, may I, Mayor?
Go ahead.
So the bulk, what I'm worried about is the general fund.
Okay.
And you're saying that in the general fund, it's going to cost us $106,000.
Yes, roughly.
And,
Plus EREs, which is another maybe 10,000.
116,000.
Yes.
So the 116,000, and we have, through the diligent work of all the department heads, we have a $1.5 million less in expenditures out of this
This year.
budgetary period.
Yes.
But in the collection of the revenues, we have a shortfall of our budget as of the end of March of approximately $650,000.
I'm sorry, 570. Is it 5 or 3? 375. I'm sorry, the revenues under budget for the month are 648, and that's overall. Sales tax under budget is 375. And then our state share is under budget by 103.
Okay. So the sales tax is under budgeted, how much?
375.
375, $375,000.
So we should be at 8.1622726, and we're at 7.787220.
This is lost it.
Okay. I understand that, Mayor, but I think we need to listen to Dr. Felix's recommendation. Well, let him make a recommendation.
Mayor, Councilor Verona, I would support the motion to allocate the $500 per employee, given the savings dollars that have been taken into account for this year, and then plan for, we really have to plan well for next year We'll be presenting the compensation study, and that's another factor we'd have to look into. But for this year, this budget year, the $500 I think we're able to do that.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Let's go over this. Maybe we should have gone through this before, right?
Okay.
But here it says revenues are under budget. Explain to me revenues. Would you consider revenues?
Any,
That's money coming in.
yes.
Money coming in. It says here, for the month, is this for 1 month, we're $650,000?
No,
Less-
this is for through March
Then
31st.
why does it say for the month?
Well, when we look at March,
Or
but
for
I
the
will
year.
check for the year. I will change that, just read the year.
Okay, that's one. So we're under budget from, we're 650,000 less money coming in.
For the year.
Do we have expectations we're gonna make that money up? I don't think so, right?
No.
No, I don't think there's any expectation. Okay, sales taxes are under budget by $375,000.
That's correct.
So here we have between 650,000 shared. Now, in those 650,000, does that include the shared revenue from the state?
Yes.
So these two here, and the difference is whatever else is the difference. So we're under, but our revenue is $650,000 less.
Then
Okay?
what we budgeted.
Okay, now, here's my question. Was the budget bloated?
No. Not
Then,
this.
then how can we have $2 million?
1.5.
Well, but that's excluding this over here, so it's roughly over $2 million. If we have 1.5 million and less 650,000, that's over 2 million, right? I mean, you say we have spent we have 1.5 million dollars that we haven't spent.
Yes. When we compare revenues collected to
Right.
disbursements
So in
issued.
other words, what you're telling me is that roughly we have spent over less $2 million, because 2,100,000 less 650,000 is roughly 1.5 million.
If we compare what we've collected year to date, which is 15.2, and what we've spent, which is 13.7.
That's how much of a difference? It's 2 million.
Well, the 1.5, yes.
It's 1.5. But again, we're saying we got $650,000 less money coming in.
No,
the
that's
year.
just comparing budget to what we've collected. I mean, a budget, again, is an estimate of what we anticipate we'll collect.
Oh, so it doesn't have to do anything with real reality then?
Well,
Is that what it?
No, it does. That's
I
reality.
mean, and when we prepare the budget, we estimate what we anticipate to collect. And unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball that'll give me the exact number.
Okay,
I mean, we do our best to,
But either
to
way, from what
be
we estimated,
realistic.
it's $650,000 less.
then
Which, looking at the way it's going, we could say that by the time July rolls around, we'll have $1 million less coming in.
It could be.
again, I can't predict the future.
Well, nobody's gonna be able to
Councilman
predict the future.
Right.
That's what we're discussing, the money right now, right? Now, if I remember correctly, I think the $500 last time, you're saying it's $116,000?
That's what we paid out in December.
That's what we paid out in December, so that would be an equal amount. You know, again, if I had known we had so much money, I think maybe 6 months ago, I would have been arguing to get these tennis courts fixed or something else. Right now, I find out here, or from here, and I still don't understand, we're $650,000 under. And then you're telling me that we're basically have spent $2 million less. We have that money in the account?
Yes,
That
if you
is
go
in
to
it.
the next page, you can see just the money that we have alone in our investments. I mean, that's real money that we have in our investment account.
Well, but the investment account adds up to a lot of different things, so I can't, just by looking at this, I can't tell you where it comes from or what.
It comes from money that we put in our checking account.
Yeah, but that money can go out tomorrow too, right? I mean,
Well,
if things were budgeted, my question is, if things were budgeted, what items were not paid out then? Or do you have a list of items that just decided not to do?
Well, for example, I know police department has a few vacancies that they haven't filled, so that's savings there. I mean, how many positions do you have vacant right now, Chief? So,
You have how many? And what else?
we know professional service that we anticipated that we haven't used. I know Dr. Felix has a position vacant right now as well in his department, the economic development coordinator. That position hasn't been filled.
Well,
Councilman,
I think all I can say is that, these figures, maybe we should have been discussing earlier so I can actually sit down and take a look at them, because I'm not gonna sit here and try to figure it out. in 5
Councilman,
minutes.
let me say something now. Mr. Felix, you feel comfortable with this? You say you feel comfortable?
Yes.
Even though we're not sure we're gonna get money in?
Well, in terms of
Even
revenue-
though we're not sure what's happening across the border?
Right.
Even though we're sure that these wait times at the border are long? You know that?
Yes.
Okay, you know what's happening, and it's happening right in front of our face. Okay, and we got numbers here, real numbers that say that we're in a hole in certain situations, but just because we haven't spent money, that means that, okay, let's go ahead, spend money now. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Instead of being, no,
For this-
instead of being conservative. What happened to the conservative part of your office?
the estimated revenues for the balance of the month may bring us closer to being at a position where we can absorb the bonus pay. The future, I think, in
Mr.
terms
Felix,
of...
the bonus pay comes in December, sir. Okay? Just because you didn't give them the $1,000 in December that you wanted to give them, now you decide to give them one in April, and then another one this December again?
That was the mayor and council decision.
Yes, it was, but still, look at the numbers she just gave us. Just because we haven't spent money doesn't mean we have money. I foresee things going bad.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna sit here and micromanage your office or anything, but you're not being conservative about this.
Well, Mayor, if I can, we're going through the budget process right now with each department. And we're being conservative in terms of what the future holds in terms of revenues. Probably when we're done with the budget process for all the departments, we'll sit down with the city council and talk about our recommendations. Plus, we'll have priorities that the city council will determine either we fund or we don't fund. So the council will have a role.
You know, when you come to that budget process and you talk to the directors, I wanna be sitting down there with the director too. Okay, like the budget process was done in the past. Because we need to look at the director face to face to see if he really needs what he needs. And the police chief says we need 6 personnel, 6 more officers for the protection of the city of Nogales. We as a council need to take care of those problems. Do we have the money to, you can say right now, yes, we have the money because, but I don't see that. She just threw some numbers right now that, I mean, like Mr. Fanesian says, we don't have a crystal ball.
No.
But honestly, I've seen ups and downs in Nogales, sir, that you haven't seen in all my life here. And I foresee something not being really positive with what's happening in Nogales, Sonora, and what's happening in the state of Sonora. The numbers are dropping in Tucson too.
But we
Sales
understand-
tax in Tucson are dropping because people are not coming across.
Right.
You know, we used to have 65 to 70% of the taxes, and I just got a document from the state that is 49%. That we're dropping. People are not coming across. So we're going to lose. We're going to be losing out. I don't.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mayor, considering our conversation and our discussion, I move to table this item, and maybe we can come back on another day on this and view it. It seemed like there's a clarification here, and the numbers that we're throwing around, I mean, there is a concern. So I think we should come back with this item.
Well, we can't table it because we haven't even made a motion, sir, but,
Well, that's his motion, is to
Yeah,
That's
to
my
table
motion.
it. Yeah, but the thing is that, you know, this needs to be put out there. I don't know where you came up with this idea.
Well,
Honestly, I don't know where you came up, just because this happened back on the past administration. But the thing is that, and Mr. Hanesian said it, you know, before we even put it on the agenda, you should have said, you know what? I'm gonna have a study session with the members of the city council, see what they think about this. I think that's what we should have done.
Mayor, the city council asked us to put this back on the agenda, bring this back to the agenda in April, so this is what we did. We're in the budget process, we're taking into account future revenues
Yeah.
as well as all expenditures in terms of what the priorities should be for the city. So, we're not done with the budget process, we're including the city council in that process to make sure that there's a dual responsibility for making these decisions. It's not just the manager or the finance director's decisions.
It's hard for me to hear Mr. Bachelier say he can't afford $40,000. That's kind of hard. It hurts me to say that he cannot afford $40,000, but we can afford $116,000. That's just off the top. It could be more. Okay, but, you know,
But Mayor,
yes, I understand.
yeah, but with it, I don't, look, Mr. Bachelier says he can't afford the $40,000 because we didn't budget the $40,000. The $1,000 that we're talking about here was budgeted. We decided, the previous council decided, and there are members that are here on that previous, we made a commitment when we were working on the budget for $1,000. We felt the strain, the financial strain. I don't want to repeat the mayor's words. You've already said it. The reasons for that. We all know the reasons for it. We made a decision at that time that we would discuss this in April. That's why we're discussing it here as a direction by the council to the city manager. Now, I concur with Councilman Rojas, and I second that motion to table. And the reason I second that motion, I would like to see a little bit more breakdown now because of these concerns. And I see it, the only good month that we had was December, and I'm glad we had a good December. But I would like to see how much it would cost for a $100 raise, $200, $300, $400, $500 raise, and then let's
Raise?
well, the bonus.
Oh, bonus. Oh, I thought you said raise.
Yeah, like an
Well,
increment.
when I talk about a raise, if I say a raise, it's a bonus. We are talking about a bonus. I never said a 1%, 0.5%, or a 2% raise. We are talking about a bonus. So I would like to second that motion, and then if you could come back with that kind of a breakdown for our May meeting, and a little bit more clarification between actually how did you come up with, I'm concerned when Councilman Henesian makes the comment that says you got $1.5 million savings. Is it an actual savings, or are you guys just hyping the budget on us to say that that is? Don't answer, just come back and say, because that, his question is a valid question, and it needs to be answered.
Mr. Mayor, there's a motion and a second to
Just
table.
before we would vote on that. There might be a motion and a second before we vote on it. Let's put it in a study session where we can sit down and, you know, and instead of putting it in the council meeting, let's sit down in a study session and work this like a budget type session. Because this is money here.
Yeah, very
This is
important.
serious, okay? If we're gonna make a decision on something like this, you know, then to me, it's concerning. You know, and it's concerning when I read the front page of the International and it says a shortfall of the comparison, and I never got anything in my office. And did you, members of the city council, get anything in your office?
No.
No, but it was in the front page of the International where it said $140,000. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're right, Mayor.
Okay, why does that happen? Why does the International and the public need to know before we need to know? Those are concerns. If you can't bring that information to my office, I'm concerned when it comes to the monies of the people in Nogales, all right? So if we're gonna discuss this again, let's do it in a study session, and go ahead, and yes, Councilor.
And Jeanette, I would like to have it exactly, you said there's $2 million that we haven't spent. I want a complete breakdown on what those $2 million are.
Is it $2 million or 1.5?
It's 1.5.
Huh?
1.5.
That's for this one.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes,
call
go
for the
ahead.
question.
Go ahead. All in favor? This is for table.
Tabling.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Number 4, ordinances. Consideration possible action of ordinance O2019-04-002, an ordinance amending Nogales City Code Charter 18 Traffic and Motor Vehicle by adding Section 18-37 prohibiting use of mobile communication or portable electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle unless pursuant to hands-free technology exceptions to civil penalties.
So moved, Mayor.
Second. Thank you very much. Discussion? Go ahead.
Mayor, I'd like to get more clarifications on, there's a lot of old vehicles. I drive 2 of them. I've been getting my Bluetooth training the last 2-3 weeks because I know this is coming on. But, reading the ordinance, it's more on the technology. If you don't have a car that has the technology to talk to it or it responds to you, even if I have my phone and I get a call, but if I touch my phone, I'm going to be cited. I think,
Well, actually-
I'm trying to use the technology to work and to answer my calls and do what I gotta do. But I think it needs to be explained, because we, like I said, we do have a lot of older vehicles on the road that, if I have a portable phone and I'm even if I just press and answer or press up here, just because or to dial, I can't dial from here. I gotta press, where I'm gonna dial, whatever, and then continue to talk with my
Nice, Mayor.
Bluetooth.
Nice,
But
Mayor.
I think we need to clarify it and put it on
It's
the
on
ordinance.
here. If you move on and get off the road and park and continue your call,
I'll never get there.
well, that's the thing. See, that's the thing. If we just think about my car is old. There's a lot of old cars up there. But the last time I was driving in California, as soon as I drove into the state of California, there was a big old sign that said, if you answer your phone, you're going to pay $150.
Yeah.
Okay? And at that moment, I gave the phone over to my wife, and I said, from now on, you answer the phone or we pull over. We had to do that if we want to be safe. And not everybody's going to have a car that has technology. Luckily, the truck I just bought last year does have it, but the one that my wife is driving doesn't have it. And I told her she has a tendency of calling now. From now on, it's going to take you a long time to get anywhere. But just best thing, and I know you have to use it for your work. And there's going to be a lot of people like you out there. But just move over, just go into the parking lot or something, answer the phone or something like that. I think, we have to look at it the safe way. Now, if we make exceptions just because
Not
of
exceptions, but
work habits,
You want to discuss.
yes,
And that,
I think, because it's there, it says there that excludes, Go ahead, Councilman.
Anyway, maybe we can get some clarification from the gentleman here.
Yes.
My understanding
Go ahead,
is, and I have this, one car's got it, another car doesn't, but you have that little, where you put your phone on there. As far as I understand, I don't know, even in California, if you've got the little stand there, you can turn your phone on as long as you're using their speaker to go ahead and talk to it. Can you do that in California or not?
Specifically for California, I'm not certain the language of that law. I don't know.
Well, how about here in Arizona, this one that they're passing?
So, right, there's 4 separate bills, potentially 4, that will go before the state legislature even tomorrow in the House of Representatives. There is an exemption for HB 2318 as well as SB 1165 that you can do a one or two touch swipe to turn on or make that kind of amendment. The idea here is manipulating a cell phone in your possession while driving a vehicle.
But it can be on the,
Right, right.
on the stand
It's
right
called
here,
hands-free.
and you turn it on
That's
and
correct.
off.
Right, that's correct. So there is an exemption for one or two touch swipe, but that
Right.
is it.
Right.
Beyond that, no manipulation, no dialing, things like that.
Yeah.
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
to kind of further clarify, to Mayor's point, right, if you need to use your phone, pull over to the side of the road. However, there was concerns in City of Tucson and Pima County of requiring or mandating some kind of Bluetooth technology. There was a concern with lower socioeconomic areas. The idea here is not implementing something to enable you to do that. Sure, if you want to go out and spend that money to be hands-free while doing so, to abide by the law, then therefore you're doing so. The idea here for being hands-free is your attention is on the roadway.
I agree.
Far too many lives have been lost because of otherwise. So,
And honestly, Councilman Hanasian, I honestly believe the state's gonna pass this soon. If it's not in a few days, it'll be soon, and once they pass it, then we're gonna have to abide by it.
But still, Mr. Mayor, you can still use it, at
Yes,
least,
it just
at
means
least in
it's
my case,
hands-free.
when I'm taking the car that doesn't have the Bluetooth, you put on the GPS, you put it on the speaker, and it gets you there without you having to touch it or do anything, right? If somebody calls while I'm doing this, I press the on button and I get the call, and then when it's over with, I turn it off. Now, I think that you can still do that. You can do that as long as it's not in your hands, right? As long as you're not dealing with it on your ear
Yeah,
or
texting on your
looking at it
ear.
and trying to text,
Yeah.
right?
And it's gonna be probably up to the discretion of the officer too, you know? I mean, the officer could be driving down the road and watch you doing it, you know, that's probably gonna be. Go ahead, Councilman Barona.
Thank you, Mayor. The concept of this proposal here, that's also happening at the Arizona legislature. My concern is here, how do we adopt public policy? I just got this public policy yesterday in the afternoon. Everybody here has an opinion, but I haven't heard the legal opinion of the swipes or this and how's it interpreted. That's our individual opinion of holding. I haven't read the police chief. You haven't sent us a narrative on this public policy. The fire department hasn't sent us a narrative about this public policy. Why aren't we telling the people in a study session that we're going to be studying this, and if they have concerns, because there's a lot of people that you might not believe that are staunch conservative people that believe that we don't want the government driving along with us, because it infringes upon our rights too. Why aren't we discussing all of it? I understand your ramifications and what happens when people are distracted and innocent people lose their lives. I get your message. Don't misunderstand me. And I support them. I am a supporter of hands-free policy. But I do want to make sure that when we develop public policy, that's what it is, public policy. If the state beats us to it, fine. But the state has been in session over 100 days discussing this. And there are concerns. So I don't understand, why are we in a rush for this? Why can't we discuss it? Why can't I get the city of Tucson and ordinance and read it for myself instead of the administration telling me the proposed ordinance adopts a similar provision from the city of Tucson? Well, what does similar mean? And what provision? And who are you to tell me that it's similar to that? Who are you to tell me that? I'm the one person here that has to be a part of 7 people that, and I want to know everything. I want to know the concerns that they had at the state legislature. And I want to be able for the people to come in and hear, not to say, well, we passed this, chief, is there going to be a grace period? How long is the grace period going to be? And how are you going to do that? And how are you going to be able to tell if it's a swipe or not a swipe? I want to know all of those things, because when John Doe comes over there and asks me, hey, what is this that you guys passed? Well, it's probably more of the same thing when you cross from Santa Cruz County to Pima County, because Pima County has it, and the city of Tucson has it. So anytime you drive in Pima County, or in the city of Tucson, we're probably similar. But I want to know what is similar. I want to be able to study and discuss and add a dialogue, have the opportunity for the people. I want the chief of police and the assistant fire chief to come up here and tell me, this is going to help. How are you going to implement it? What are we going to do? We're passing something, but we don't know what we're going to do from it when it's passed. That's all I'm asking for. Again, why wasn't this in a study session so we could study it first and then bring it up so the people, give an opportunity for the people to read, and this is what we're discussing. I don't want to just go ahead and say big government is telling you what to do, because I'm not a believer in that. I want the people of the community to have an opportunity to come here and stand up and say, hey, we support it, but we want to have 6 months of relationships where you give us a ticket, but there's no fine, nothing on my record or anything, it's just a warning. How long? Who's going to make that decision? Well, for sure, I don't want the bureaucracy to make that decision. That's our decision to make. I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with the policy, but I also want to make sure that I have the opportunity to study what the city of Tucson does, what Pima County does, what the concerns have been at the state legislature, that there are so many Senate bills and House bills on this. That's what I'm asking for, an opportunity to study this before it comes to a final vote. Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. As I recall, we did have a presentation, and if I recall correctly, you did a really good job with your presentation the previous time. And at the end of your presentation, I was ready to go for an ordinance. And I personally am ready right now to vote for it. Keeping your words in mind, Councilman Varona, I agree with you. And I think that there might be a time somewhere along the way where we might need to polish it, make it a little bit better, if there's some recommendations from the police chief. But at this time, I'm ready to vote for this ordinance, Mayor. I think it's a good idea. There might be, as I mentioned, other studies in the future to look at it, but I'm ready to vote on this.
Go ahead, Councilman.
And Mr. Mayor, again, I agree with Councilman Rojas here. In California, when you cross a state line or you cross into Pima County, nobody's reading you the whole article,
No.
right? All you know is don't do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going into California. I could have asked, I want the whole story and I want to know how I can get around it. But it's just there, it tells you don't do it, and everybody does it. It's been already, I think a lot of states already have it. It's not something new, right? And even here in Nogales, you see people texting and you say, unbelievable, unbelievable. Or you see people, that are on the phone that shouldn't
Close
be. Maybe
calls.
they're too young to be doing it or whatever, but it's being done constantly. So I think at least I'm ready to vote on it too.
Yeah, it's
right?
kinda-
The state's gonna vote on it
I'll give you an
anyway.
example. It's kind of like you're driving down the road and then my wife tells me, you know what, go 80. Go 80 miles an hour so we can get to Tucson faster. Nobody stops you 5 miles over the speed limit. Yeah, they do. All you need to have is that officer on the radar gun wanting to get a citation. It'll be 5 miles over the speed limit. It's the same thing.
Mr.
You
Mayor.
might,
Yeah.
they're gonna use their discretion. And it's so easy, you know, look, I was coming from Tucson the other day, and we saw a trucker doing this in front of us. And my wife's sitting over there. We saw the trucker doing this. And it was in the afternoon. And I go, well, he must be tired. You know? And Kathy goes, don't pass him. Don't pass him, because he's going into my lane. And then he's going 75, I'm going 75. And I'm a little concerned, and I don't want to wait there, so I start passing him. The first thing she does, she turns around, and here's the trucker. Texting. Not calling, texting. His eyes were off the road completely, 75 miles an hour on a truck, okay? It's a semi-truck. Those are the people that worry me, okay? And a lot of kids do it too, and stuff like that, so we need to address the problem, and you know, and I understand the feelings of everybody. We're all going to have those feelings, and but you know, I'm also ready to vote on it. Yes, Councilman.
Mr. Rich, just a footnote. In the morning when I'm taking my 10-year-old little girl to school, and if I have my cell phone on my hand, she'll say, Dad, put that down. You want me to die? And I mean, she's 10 years old, and they already know better. So I think we're ready to go for it.
If I may, Mayor and Council. Mayor and
go
Council.
ahead.
I just came from the state legislature this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I've been following this at the state level. Two things will come into play if you guys decide to act today. One, you'll be the 27th jurisdiction to take action on this, recognizing the public health crisis that it is. And two, if you guys adopt this before the governor signs this into law, when he signs that into law, it'll go into effect January 1st, 2021. So by your adopting this today, allows you to take action, allows you to educate the residents of your community to realize this is an epidemic, and it just allows you the ability as a local jurisdiction to take action.
Okay. Yes,
Can I ask a question legal?
yes.
Mr. Massey, we voting on this, you know, how are we gonna do the specifics of, you know, what Mr. Verona mentioned about, you know, the way the chief is gonna handle it and all that. How?
Well, if I may, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Maldonado, the ordinance as it's written today says it goes into effect in 30 days after adoption. Now, today is the first presentation for possible action on this ordinance, and if you vote on it, and if it's unanimous, you can waive the second reading, in which case it's adopted today. But if there's concerns about, you know, allowing extra time, the easiest thing is to vote on it today and bring it back for a second reading. And that can be as soon as June, or May rather, or as late as June, or whenever. But also, it's already written that the effective date is 30 days from the date of adoption, which is what the charter says for any ordinance that is not adopted pursuant to an emergency clause. An emergency clause was not written into this ordinance, so there's already an automatic 30-day tie-in period. But if there's a sense that you need more, the easiest thing is to bring it back for a second reading. And then, obviously, between the first reading and the second reading, there should be some public interest, some newspaper interest, and there will be, you know, that built into the process.
Call for the question, Mayor.
Okay. All right.
I request a roll call vote.
Okay. Letty,
Yes.
we'll start with me, Letty. Yeah.
Mayor? Yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Rojas?
Aye.
Mr. Maldonado?
No.
Mr. Barona?
No.
Mr. Henessian?
Aye.
Mr. Woboto?
Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
So this will be brought back for a second reading.
Yes.
Because
Well,
it was not adopted
Mr.
unanimously.
Mayor, I was gonna ask, Can I make a motion to waive the second reading?
Not unless it's adopted unanimously.
Unless it's unanimous, okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
So we'll bring it back on the next agenda.
Okay, we'll have a motion for executive session.
So move. Second.
Thank you very much. We'll be going into executive session.